All right, welcome back from that short break. The show is still The Break Live right here on Dominion Television, your channel of choice, your inspiration, it's entertainment. Do well to link up with us on all social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, at Dominion Broadcast, and on X, formerly Twitter, at Dominion Cast. You can also watch us live now with Facebook and YouTube channels at Dominion Broadcast. Leave a comment and definitely we'll take them on this show. You can watch us on our website too, www.dominion.org.ng, dominion.org.ng. Now it's time for Trend Watcher, and Anulu Akpoidowu is back in the studio with me.
And first of all, let me say that was an insightful conversation, you know, something high point from there, so something to work on, especially for Nigeria and for people, everybody.
The 5 tribes, actually.
Absolutely. So what we have on Trend Watch today is coming from a former defense chief in Lucky Irabor. He came out to say that some politicians finance terrorism in Nigeria, but trials, names kept secret, according to him. Just recently, Mohammed Idris, the Minister of Information and National Orientation, came out to say that they are going to name them as soon as possible, and they are working to get to the end of this issue. There's been a lot of promise, especially when it comes to terrorism financing in the country. In fact, I went online to check on Forbes to see how much does it cost to own a rifle, especially an AK-47. And I saw Forbes put it about $2,700 to $3,600 US. I calculated that, and that's running into millions. How can 200 soldiers bear AK-47 rifles without financing? Where are they working? How many cows can you sell to get one rifle? Talk more of getting more rifles. If you have over 200 people in the forest, in the thick of the forest, with AK-47,
with ammunitions.
That's not the only thing they carry. They bear IEDs, you know, explosive devices, all of this, but they're also expensive. They have trucks. They have all these very heavy artilleries and machineries that they are using to perpetuate whatever they are doing in the country. It's cost a fortune to own these things. If there's no financing, there is no way. In fact, someone put it right. They say, the day you stifle or you take away money or financing from terrorism, it dies a natural death. What we have in the country, there's nobody that can dispute the fact that it is being financed by some sects, by some people. But the question has been, who are the persons? Something you might want to tell us, maybe you know.
Well, I think this is a question that, you know, most Nigerians have asked too many times, and there was no response. And if there was a response, it wasn't the right response, or maybe that was the response. That wasn't the response most Nigerians were actually looking for, waiting to hear. You see, Nigeria is at a disadvantage, and you know why I said that is because Nigeria has a crisis, and Nigeria doesn't know that Nigeria has a crisis, or maybe Nigerians don't know that Nigeria has a crisis, and it's right in the face of everyone. It's very clear for everyone to see. See, when we talk about terrorism financing, it's not something done not something in Nigeria that is just comfortable with a house and then maybe a car can actually easily do. You can't just finance terrorism with all of that. I think it has to be someone at the corridor of power, someone who has tasted power, someone who is extremely rich and will benefit greatly from whatever it is that is happening in those bushes. Now, let's break it down a little bit. You see, when you mentioned how much it costs to get a Kalashnikov AK-47, whatever it is, it runs into thousands of US dollars and millions in Naira at the rate of 1,450 or maybe 1,500 Naira. Let's put that aside. Let's talk about how much it costs to run, you know, to buy fuel, to fuel trucks, to fuel trucks. Let's leave feeding, to fuel trucks. Let's say you have about 20 trucks, for example, 20 Hilux vehicles to fuel, and then you are going to use them 24/7 and 365 days a year. Look at how much it will cost to fuel those vehicles. That is one. Do you know how much it costs to buy one bullet, ammunitions? So, when you look at them, it's not like they are strategic about how they spray their bullet. They just spray sporadically, generously, not minding whatever it is going. They just want to, you know, express themselves with the gun, and that's another problem in our hand. Let's now go back to what happened during the Civil War, when the late sage Obafemi Awolowo had to step in. He made this statement about, you see, you cannot be fighting a battle and still be feeding the person you are fighting. The first thing you do is to cut the supply chain. What are they eating? What drug are they using? What water do they drink? Who buys them fuel? Who gives them fuel? These are the things you should look out for. So once that channel is cut off, then it dies a natural death, because you cannot survive in those bushes without all these supplies. And then if you check the internet, you see a lot of things that really shouldn't be happening. You see, there was a time they said choppers do drop supplies for them in the bushes. Who owns these choppers? Can they be tracked? That's a big question. Who owns it? And then who finances it? Who fuels it? At least you get fuel from somewhere before you fly. Who gives the all clear that chopper must fly and then land in such a place? That's a big question. And that is to say that if you are talking about terrorism, if you are talking about insecurity, it cannot survive unless the body language of the people at the corridor of power says yes. Unless someone somewhere that is so rich and so powerful is saying yes. And that's the crisis we're having on our hand. From what you see what you read on the pages of the newspaper is about, the no to terrorism. And from what you see in their body language, it says yes. Yes. Because, I mean, there are so many things that really should be done that is not being done. We know where this, I will still go back to this again and again. About 3 weeks ago, news broke that ISWAP and Boko Haram were having a battle on the Nigerian territory. They fought for, I think, about 2 days. The body count was about 200. But nobody has said anything about what happened there. So does that mean that we don't know what was happening there? And we don't know how to tackle the situation? I mean, it surely shows that at that point, when the battle was going on, it was just Boko Haram and ISWAP that was there. Why no airstrike? Why not? Why them?
Yeah, that's a suitable chance to just get into the...
And at least, if not all, at least you wipe a sizable number of members of Boko Haram and ISWAP at one go. But somehow, somewhere, someone decided not to do anything. So what I was saying about body language, you see, what you want to take it, look at what Donald Trump said. And sent so many big names in the country, they were shaking here and there about what to do next. Is that his body language and what he said says no to what is going on in the country. But unfortunately, if you want to address this issue now, we'll now go back to religion. We'll start talking about religion. What we should be talking about actual issues. A country that is not issue-based, a country that is not talking about strategic things that will move the country forward is a failed country. And I think gradually, Nigeria might just be going towards that direction. And we really have to put an end to it as soon as possible.
I'll just lay claims very quickly before we move on to what, a former presidential candidate, also a pastor, Tunde Bakari, said briefly the day before yesterday. And then he was mentioning the fact that the government and the people in the legislature were folding their arms while the United States government was planning actions in the country. How sad, how unfortunate is this? The country is sleeping while the people outside the country are working to ensure that...
not even Nigerians. I mean, they are working to ensure security in the country while it's more or less like we are sleeping here. So let's just take 2 comments before we go. I think Mustafa Alilu says, name them if you know them. When you were there, what impact did you make? That's a very big one. And one of them has resigned, others to follow. That's coming from Jeremiah Peter.
He was referring to Ribadu.
Yeah, Ribadu.
That's
exactly one place to, defined place to leave this conversation this morning. So thank you for joining us on the show this morning. As I always say, champions are not made in the stadium. They are made of something deep inside of them. And of course, it is on that note to draw the curtains on today's edition of Daybreak Live right here on Dominion Television. So Samson Balogun is my name. Join us again, same time, same station, same host tomorrow. Bye for now.
And I will say, do what is right, regardless of who's doing it or who's not doing it, who is watching you or who's not watching you. My name is Anulu Akwedo. Thank you very much for joining us. Enjoy the rest of the day.